Zac Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Good, man. Good.
How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the Domestic Dad podcast.
Welcome. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me, bro.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's
awesome opportunity, for you to have me into your studio.
Yeah. Let's get started on what childhood was like for you, man.
Childhood, man. Well, I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Growing up, and I grew up between, at 3. My mom got with my stepfather, who up until 15 I thought was my real father. But
yeah,
so growing up, they were there were times where we were affluent. There was times where we weren't so affluent because of the lifestyle that my mom and pops was living. They, mostly in the streets. My mother, she she went to culinary school and everything, and she did that, from time to time. I remember working for Notre Dame University,
Oh,
at
wow.
one time. I worked, and for some time, when we traveled, she worked out in LA. But anyway, growing up was kind of, it was challenging, when you look back, because of the, situation at home. There were, and the family that I was raised in, very, as they say now, toxic. There was a lot of verbal, emotional, physical, and even sexual abuse.
Oh, wow.
So you in those environments, and so it could be like, for me, I grew up kind of like, because I've seen so much and I was experiencing so much, I gravitated towards kids that didn't, that nobody else wanted to play with, nobody else wanted to deal with, the kids that smelled like pee, or the kids that were bullied. I hated bullies. I gravitated towards those kind of kids, and then I used escapism. I fantasized a lot. I got into music really early just to escape, So I was good in school during grade school, but as I got into adolescence, I started, because I had this inferiority complex where I didn't know where I fit in at. So I started gravitating towards all these different cliques, and groups in school. I played basketball, but because of our moving, and there was a time where we moved a lot, because of the lifestyle.
Sure.
We moved to Southern Illinois, then we moved out to California for a while, then back from California, where we stayed in California, tried to live out there, then got on the homeless trail, then went down to San Diego, then went to Santa Ana, then went to Phoenix, then went to Vegas, then back east, then a little few years later we go back out to California, and because of that movement, and I never got really stable in the school, never really could make friends. I met a lot of people here and there, but it wasn't stable. Childhood wasn't stable. I had a hard time, finding myself. Didn't know who I was. Trying to fit in everywhere. And so that's what childhood was like.
What was your family dynamic like? Like mom and dad around, or just mom? Or
yeah, it was mom and dad in the house.
Nice,
but a lot of time we stayed with our grandmother because, like I said, they were in the streets.
Yeah.
They were, just to be 100 with you, he was into everything, and under the criminal in South Bend, Indiana. and
Sheesh.
even pimping.
Yeah.
My mother was one of his women.
Yeah.
Was the main one. So I grew up. Seeing a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? To the point to where I remember sitting on prostitutes' laps and they want to kiss me. Hey, tell them, they can't, kiss you. They got to give you $1. They got to pay you first. That type of thing. I went through some abuse myself.
Yeah.
With him. I didn't know at the time, but I knew later and on when God started, changing my life that once you give your life to Christ, initially he has replayed everything over, like from start to finish or whatever. Like how they say Moses got Genesis, but and he let me see and what was going on. And so, me and my mother, right to this day, we have a very, very strained relationship. Not because of any drama or nothing like that, but growing up, she never showed me that much. She didn't show me really no affection.
Right.
But I found out later that why. He had told her because I wasn't his, I was my mother's oldest child. I'm the oldest of 6, but he had told her to get control of her because my mother was like her mother, my grandmother's free spirit, wild, like to do what they do, real opinionated, whatever. And if you want to control, you got to get control. You got to do some drastic things, as far as pimping. So one of the things that he did for her was let her think that if she showed me any more affection than him, he would do something to me. Outside of the drugs and all, but that's another
Sure.
part. But so to answer your question, yeah, the family dynamic there was a lot of toxic stuff. I got a lot of verbal. I'm not saying that as a kid I didn't get some. Because as a kid you got some whoopings that was deserving.
Right. Yeah.
Now everything wasn't just you just was just getting dragged.
Right.
No, I got some deserved whooping, but there were times where I got it was some over. The main thing that he did was emotional to me. It was like, and that's why I had this for many years. I dealt with self-sabotage because I didn't think when things got going too good, I felt like I didn't deserve it. And that's because coming up, he would do things at strategic times. Like in the 5th, 6th grade, my best friend played the saxophone.
Yeah.
He played tenor sax. And that was my best friend, so I wanted to play the saxophone.
You wanted to play it too.
I wanted to play the alto.
All right.
So told him I wanted to play the alto sax. If you want to play it, cool. Went and got it for me. Got my case. I'm taking my case. I'm
Professional grade.
Got the little reed things you put in there. So
yep.
A few months, I'm starting to get in the feel for it. Then take it away.
Oh man.
Right? No explanation. I couldn't question it. If I questioned it, made me think something's gonna happen, so I couldn't question it. Christmas times, get gifts, toys and stuff like that. Got younger siblings. Open my gifts. 2 weeks later, you can't play with this. Give them to your little brothers and sisters. Give it to your little brothers.
Oh. So a big takeaway.
Yeah.
So he played the takeaway card often, simply to mess with you psychologically.
And the biggest thing when I was 15. No, before I was finna be. This was I was just turning from 14 to 15, right before. We were in back in California, staying in the shelter in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
I got on the basketball team, playing basketball. I was pretty good at basketball. So we ended up like towards the almost end of the middle of the season, we had to out the shelter and move.
Mm.
And I'm like, man, I couldn't stay. So we moved to another shelter in Morgan Hill, California. And that's like a town not far from California. Matter of fact, it's one of the schools that we played. So
Oh
I
no.
go to the school. I couldn't get on the team because it was so late in the season, right? So the coach of that school's team, and he came to me at lunch one time and said, well, they know I play basketball. They said there's a tradition at this school that the coach, anybody that plays basketball that come to school, they see where they really at. So the coach and the best guy, I guess, on their team would play 2-on-2 with the new guy and one of the other players. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we play him, whoop him. Coach ain't never been beat, but he see my skill. So he's like, man,
Okay, I see where you're at. Yep.
I see where you're at. So he asked my situation, told him the situation. He wanted to talk to my parents. So he asked my parents, he was like, I would like to, I know your situation, this, that, and that. He said, but I would like to work with him, who's your son. He has potential. I can help him probably get into a good college. Hey, he can stay with me. You don't have to worry about it. I'll keep you updated, but he has potential.
That's a huge door that was opened for you, right?
So he says, okay, man, you know what? He's like, you really want to do it? Like, yeah. So he's like, we'll talk about it. He said, let me think about it, right? So every other day for the next couple weeks, you really want to do this? I'm like, yeah.
Oh no.
So a few weeks later, and the coach, he asked me, what's going on? So we had to leave that place. I forget where it was going after that. I didn't care. I think that's when we went to Los Banos. But the coach came was like, man, he was like, man, I don't think that's the best thing for him at this time. We're just going to take him. And I'm like,
here you are with this huge door open to go live with the coach, play on a good team.
At that time,
and excel.
Around there, not too far from the Bay Area, I could have been playing AAU with Gary Payton and Jason Kidd and all them guys that was out there.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that crushed me, right? So then, some months later, we was in Los Banos, living in Los Banos. And my grandmother comes, and me and him, I'm of age now, and we started, I'm having these little, after that incident, that just set something in me, and I'm like, man, this dude here. And so I guess one day I didn't come back home when I was supposed to. Me and him got into it, a little argument or whatever. And my grandmother stepped in, calms down, like, it ain't that serious. He, telling him that. But anyway, she sat me down later and let me know, she said, Junior not your real father, right? And I'm like, well, and I'm 15.
You had no idea.
I had no that, as kids, growing up with my cousin, kids, they'll say some stuff, and playing and joking, and you go ask, you get to, man, they don't know what they're talking about and go and play. So I had no clue. But when she said that, all his thoughts, when I go back to everything that he did, that's why he did it. I'm not his. That's why Uncle did me what they did to me. They both sexually assaulted me.
Yeah. Those were his brothers.
His brothers.
Not your mom's.
No. That's why he did that. Wow.
Oh man.
And so that set me on a track at that age. I said, nobody's ever going to take advantage of me again.
Yeah.
Because I can't let that happen no more. I took control of that. Like, I let all that junk happen. When, I was a kid, I couldn't do nothing about that. You see what I'm saying? So,
the psychological trauma of that, not only, I'd say what happened to you during childhood, and then the card that he was playing on you with the, oh, you really want that? And then the takeaway, what that does to you, what that does to anybody psychologically is you probably feel less than.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. I'm not good enough for that. And then to find out that the man's not even your father. And that, Zach, that's like, that guts me, man. So, yeah.
It was serious. And it set me on a course. I think from then on, it was like, because right after that, when she told me that, I had a summer, like there was a summer job, right?
Yeah.
And you had to go to class in the daytime, then go work in the afternoon. And I had to work at that's where I've learned, that's why I tasted jalapeno peppers for the first time. Because I was working on a migrant, I was working in a migrant apartment complex where they bring up migrants for the summer to pick strawberries and vegetables, produce in these big old fields down there in that's Los Banos, and between Los Banos and Fresno, and that's all that farm area in California. So I worked with the maintenance guys to fix up their apartments, whatever. But my checks, he would take my checks, right? Well, anyway, so one day though, I love music, so I used to go ride my bike to go to class every morning, but I would listen to my Walkman. Back then they had Walkman, and so usually like when I needed new batteries, I didn't buy my stove.
Right.
I went to I wait after I get out of work, go to the store, boom, get up out of there. But I forgot to get batteries the night before, so I was at the store right when it opened to get the battery. Nobody's in the store, so I'm thinking I'm being inconspicuous. They watching me the whole time. Anyway, get caught stealing the batteries. They take me, that's call the police, take me home. He was like, yo, you going to work? This, that, another. We'll talk to you when you get home. So when I got home, he was like, well, me and your mama decided, we're going to beat your tail. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, now y'all got a conference about it. Now that I know the real deal. So he's like, go in your room. So I went in my room, but I'm telling myself, I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of scared, because I know I'm not.
You're getting ready for a fight.
I'm not going to let this say.
Yeah,
that's
you're over it. You're over it,
right?
Yeah, that anger's coming up.
So he he come in, he tell me, take my clothes off, lay across the bed. He got a extension cord. I said, what? He like, you heard me lay across. I said, no, I ain't doing that. He said, you what? I said, I ain't doing nothing. He said, boy, I'm your daddy. Just then. I said, you ain't nothing. What? He got it. And he swung it, and I caught it. Then I caught him. Wow. So he fall back. I had a little love seat in my room. So I'm on top of him. I'm crying. Boom. Hitting him. So my mother come in. She stared. Like, what you doing? Get off of me. He telling my mother, go get the machete on the back. Go get the machete on the back. Because he kept all kind of little odds.
Sure.
I done got hit with blackjacks, whips, all kind of stuff. So he got all this type of stuff. So my mother, she comes back with a bat and hit me across the back with the bat, which I'm like, what you
Whose team are you on? Right.
But he rolled on top of me and grabbed me by my windpipe and was digging in my throat. It was like he was trying to tear out my windpipe, and I couldn't breathe. But he let me go. Like I should kill you, and I couldn't, but after that, he knew control is over.
Right.
And because he see I can, I'm gonna have to tussle with him. So in his mind, it was a fast track to get me up out of there, which happened after we left Los Banos. Now my uncle Bobby was at the time got out of seminary, and he was a pastor up in San Francisco. So we would go up there sometime. But one of his best friends pastored in Fresno. We ended up moving to Fresno, and going there. So anyway, in Fresno, one time, like they got back out into the streets, started dealing with this guy in an apartment complex we lived in. And so now I'm babysitter now, with my younger siblings. I'm trying to go out. Now they back out in the streets. So now I'm feeling all crazy because I got to be home all the time. I'm mad.
Right.
So one day, lady, one of the young ladies from the church moved across the street in an apartment complex. And their apartment complex had a pool, swimming pool. So I would let my little brothers, he's crazy. So he taught himself how to swim, but he liked to always go over there and swim. So one day I let him go swim. And they were gone. So pops came home and he's all twisted on something. So, oh, where's Sancho at? I said, across the street. I ain't telling him he can go nowhere. I said, I told him he can go. Told my little brother, go over there and get him, right? So I know when he like that, he ready to, beat somebody.
Yep.
So in my mind, I'm like, oh, I ain't finna, no, he ain't finna hurt my brother like that. My brother's 3 years younger than me. But anyway, so Central called me, tell him, go in your room. So he was in his room. I told my brother, I said, don't worry about it. I said, I ain't gonna let nothing happen to you, right? Just go in the room. So he came out. He's in there. I said, yeah. So I went right behind him. Now, we got a little apartment, and me and my brother's room in the back of the apartment, right? There's a bunk bed in there. It's not big. There's a window. Now, outside the window, from the building, you got the building here, and it's only about a couple feet from the fence. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of bushes down there, right? And we on the second story.
Oh, no.
So we go in the room. We look in the closet. We look under the bed. My brother ain't in there. I know he didn't come back out the door.
Oh, no.
We open the window. This boy done jumped out the window. That scared, right? He done jumped out the window. He went around the corner somewhere and told this lady what was going on. He had some whips on him from a previous. So they called Child Protective Services and the police came. And somehow, I don't know how Pastor Mendenhall got there. So Pastor Mendenhall got there, right? So they talked to him and, he told them, so they said something for me, but I'm like, I'm listening to him tell his story to these people. And I'm like, you lying. So the pastor come get me, he's like, let me excuse him. So he saw something when I said this. So pastor has seen, I'm like, to them, I'm like, he know so the pastor asked for me and my parents to come to his office to have a meeting the next day. So, because I tell you, this is my brother, my uncle's best friend. So he's trying to, make himself look. So we get to the office and he in there lying. So that's when I blew up. I'm like, man, you lying. You this, that, another. He sitting there, he mad, but he got to take because he don't want to.
He can't act up.
He can't act up. So I'm like, man, so it was, like we were 7-Day Adventists. So it came out to where the church, they pulled some strings to get me in this boarding school, Monterey Bay Academy. So the church gave me like a little scholarship. The conference the church in gave me one, and the school let me come up, Monterey Bay Academy. And I would have to, they had some different companies. I have to work, earn money. Like some kids earn money to help pay their tuition.
Yep. So
acted like it was all good. I learned he had got this Lincoln town car. No, it's Continental. Drove me up there. Let me drive up there. That's how I learned how to drive. on
a Lincoln Continental.
And a Lincoln Continental on the California Highway. On
PCH one. On PCH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, my mother was scared because some of them, you're riding up some of the mountains and cliffs. But in his mind, this was his chance, right? he didn't tell me that they were planning on moving back east, right? I didn't find that out until I was playing basketball at school one time, and one of the guys I was playing, I was guarding him. His elbow, I was guarding to his elbow. He swung his elbow back, and this tooth here, he knocked the tooth back, and they had to put braces, and they gave me a little weekend leave. Since Watsonville was not too far from San Francisco,
Yep.
I went to my uncle's house, for the little leave. My uncle picked me up from the station, Greyhound station, tell me in the car, hey, just want you to know your pops and your mom and the family here, they at house. I'm like, huh? I ain't even heard from them in a couple months I've been up here. He was like, yeah, well, time's getting hard, this, that, and other, da, da, da. So they going back home, whatever. I'm like, right? So I didn't know nothing about this. So when I get to the house, they looking like, whoa, okay, what's going on? So I'm like, what's going on? So I'm like, Mom, what's going on? She was like, I can't talk about this, that, and that. So I'm talking to my little brother. He's like, man, he told us not to tell you nothing, this, that, and other. We're going back by grandma. I'm like, oh.
Whoa.
Okay.
So again,
so
trust ripped away from you.
Yeah. So I went to him. Man, what's going on? So you just going to leave me out here? You ain't going to tell me nothing? No, I said, you could have told me something. Well, here, just take this, and there. I'm like, man, forget you. So he gave me $100 bill, right? Had a wad of money. So they left the next day and gone. So my uncle, he called me. He was like, man, how you feeling? This, that, and other. I said, man, he was like, they just having hard. I said, they're having hard. He said, yeah, man, they're having hard. I had, I even gave him my rent money for this month, to help him out. I said, you what? I said, Uncle Bobby, look, he gave me this $100. He had a whole stack of money. Now, at the time, back then, his rent was $1,500. He gave him that. He just, I'm like, but that set me on after that. Now, that was 15, 16, going into 17. Now, after that, got kicked out of boarding school because of my emotional state, didn't know how to handle stuff. And
how could you?
Got to fighting, and this is a religious school, and, affluent, and I'm up here acting, so they kicked me out.
Well, when someone grows up literally like the way that you have, I mean, it's fight or flight, and you had enough of flight at that point, and you were fighting back when adversarial situations came up.
Yeah. But it wasn't the right fight.
Yeah.
So when I got, so I got kicked out of boarding school. I was in the 10th grade. And so I went to stay with my uncle in San Francisco. So, he had six kids of his own at the time, but he was pastoring, new pastor, and he was, gone all the time. So he knew I cooked. So when they're gone, he would say, man, I'll give you something to make sure y'all eat, cook, because I don't want y'all buying food out all the time. So I would do that. Then I found me a job at McDonald's. Now, going to work every day. Now, this is the time, around this time, that's when the crack epidemic started.
What year was this?
This was 87, 88, right? And NWA just came out, dope man. No, that one wasn't out yet. It was Eazy-E album was out at the time. 8 Ball Rolling and all that. But anyway, but you seeing it, you seeing the dress, they wearing the suits, they wearing the chains, they wearing the, you're just seeing that. So I'm loving the hip hop. I was Too Short, was out, Freaky Tales. So I'm loving that. That's my culture. So I'm growing up. So, but I'm seeing what's going on around the park. So one day, me and my cousin's friend, Marcel, he comes to the house. He had started pitching with some, so we seen him. And but one day, we heard he got the task force beat him up pretty bad. So we went over to his house. Now he was sneaking and doing this, because he was sneaking and but got caught up. Task force got after one night. He tried to run and beat him up. So we went to the house and saw it. Like, you remember on that scene in Friday with when Devo hit Red and they saw his eye for the first time?
Yeah. Damn.
We seen it, we like, man. But that's it. It was in my mind. I'm like, I want to try to do that. I know nothing about selling no drugs. I know nothing about, being out there like that. But I said, I'm trying to sell me some, right? I've been, my uncle gone, all this, so my cousin, all this, so I'm gonna, took my little money and went to the park and found somebody like, man, this dude, like, man, I'm trying to get such and such. Like, what you trying to do? Now, this dude said he would help me. I'm not knowing nothing about nothing, so not knowing he was a dope fiend. So he said, I got me one, right? So he was like, yeah, we can go get this, that, and other. No. Went to the guy in the rec center. Like back then, they ain't had nobody. They had a big gallon size. Back then, they had a gallon size Glad Ziploc bag full of rocks. So you come up, they wasn't turning no money down. You come up there with $1, they give you something. But anyway, so so all day, next couple of days, dude we out here doing this. He's trying to get me to smoke. I wouldn't. I'm like, man, I knew that much. Don't get high on your own supply. That's what I'm saying in the song.
Yeah. Music taught me something.
But anyway, so then he started getting these women to try to come on and coerce me, right? Well, I wouldn't do it, Did something with them, but I wouldn't do nothing. Just wouldn't smoke nothing. Till he took me out to the projects. He took me out to the projects, man, and just one. Then she was fine.
Yeah.
And so she was like, I'm like, what you want to do? She's like, I don't do nothing until I want you to do something with me. So I ain't finna do none of that. She said, okay, well, we ain't finna do nothing, right? I'm like, cool. So we doing. So a couple hours later, it started getting dark. She go in the room. She come out with this negligee piece.
Oh.
And I'm like,
oh.
I'm young. I'm on fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Nothing you can.
I said, all right, okay, let's do it. So I ended up smoking the rest of what I had with her. Right.
Oh boy.
I'm 16, finna be 17.
Oh man.
And
was that the first time that you had done that?
First time I ever did it. Now, I didn't know. I'm like, I don't even think me and her did anything.
Yeah.
I think that was it. So I did think that the next day, I told my cousin, a couple friends, what had happened. They looking at me like, and I'm like, it's a joke. They looking at me like, you know what you just said? You smoke crack.
Yeah.
But ironically, at that time, I didn't get hooked. Right. So happens, me being out there, and then I, in the process of me being out there, the boarding school, right? They allowed me, because I met some friends. They had I was a sophomore, and they had a sophomore program coming up, right? So I was supposed to be in it, but they allowed me, because they also, they allowed me to come for the weekend, come up there on the weekend, right, to see the show, and I would stay in my old roommate's room, but what I did say about the boarding school, even though it was, religious, but it went down up in there, right?
Yeah.
It was affluent. I was around kids that parents were doctors and lawyers, business people, this, that, and other, on visiting day on Saturdays when they come up for churches or something, I'm seeing Ferraris, I'm seeing Benz, I'm
Things you
like,
haven't been
man,
around before and you knew.
and I'm like, but I'm we sneaking into the girls' dorm, right? We had these two guys from Hawaii. Their dorm room was like in the back of the dorms. There's like wooded areas, right? Their room was in the back of the. They had their room situated. They had these blockers and fans to where smoke could go straight out the back window. They had it
Sneaky,
right?
Sneaky. They
and
built it.
Smoking plenty of weed up in there.
Yeah.
So when I go back for this weekend, I see them before the program. I go get a joint from them, right? My stupid self. Now at the same time, I done got me a little fake gold chain, got me a nice little outfit, and I'm
starting to shine a little bit.
But I'm fronting like I'm doing something that I'm not. So, one of the girls from Fresno, from the church that I was part of in Fresno, she goes to the school, right? Like I say, I stayed in Fresno, so my uncle's pastor friend is there. He was our pastor. She sees me now after the weekend. Now after before the show, I take a joint and go off in the wood and smoke the joint and go right into the assembly. So one of the teachers smelled me. I'm high as ever. Smelled me and just says, "Come on."
Yeah, I know what you've been doing.
They kicked me back out. They took me right back to the bus station. And I'm gone. Now, the girl, she done seen me and heard what was going on, and they is to talk. So she done told my uncle's friend her concern. He tells my uncle. So by the time I get back, my uncle sit me down like, man. So I got, I can't have that around my kids. I got to, you got to go. So I go. So that's where after I left there,
abandonment again. Abandonment again.
That's it wasn't. But I felt like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but I felt like that. Like okay. So at this time, I go instead of going because by this time my mother stuff out separate. She's back in Milwaukee. He's down in Southern Illinois. So on the phone, like, where are you gonna go? This, that, and he telling me, look, man, let's work on our relationship. This, that, I'm finna get this money. I give you this, da, 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 da. Just come down. It's like, all right, let's go, right? So instead of going to Milwaukee, I go down to Southern Illinois because but not knowing it comes out, he felt his sense of control going with her. He needed to have something, you know what I mean? So he had got a big settlement or whatever. And so I went down there for a year. Long story short, went down there. That's where I met my son's mother. We was in school. We didn't mess around then, but me and him just bump heads, whatever. So I left there. I didn't even finish the school year out. So that was in 88. So 89, right after the new year, 89, 18, I was back in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And once that happened, signed myself in school, but my mother, she was, in a bad way, and
your mom's with you at this time, right?
Yeah, I moved back to Milwaukee with her.
Yeah.
And my younger siblings and signed myself in school, but because of the downstairs neighbors got, cool with them guys and running around the streets, got one out, and I quit school. I quit. I was a senior. I quit in the middle. I wasn't failing or nothing. I quit.
Yeah.
Senior year.
Yeah. I think that's a common thing for kids. I shouldn't say kids, for young adults at that point in their life where they're just done with trying to be formed and they want to, like, it's a rush to get out of the house. It's a rush to grow up.
Yeah.
That's for me anyways. And it's like, I'm done with all of this. If I can limit my responsibilities down to next to nothing and go just be the man I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that's a setup though, because as much as we wanted to do that and we so frustrated and we want to be, we never learned how to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we face so much hurt, rejection, and shame and all these other feelings that we didn't know how to navigate. We never learned, okay, what does it take? And we were never taught. Like, he, not only was he didn't, I had to cook and clean in the house. I know how to do that.
Yeah, those were easy.
He's a master mechanic. Never taught me nothing about that.
No skills.
Never encouraged me in my natural gifting, basketball, or maybe even the saxophone, or give me the tools. Hey, this is what you got to look out for. Never that. But by watching you and experiencing with you, I learned some stuff to do, but it was more damaging to me than helpful. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I wanted to be my own man, but I didn't know how to be at that time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but yeah, that was the childhood.
All right. Holy smokes. You're like, okay. So
for the rest.
Chapter, let's turn the page. And it's like, oh my gosh, man, we just got through the childhood, and it's like, holy smokes. That was a lot, man. So like just unpacking all of that, just a lot of trauma, going back to early childhood with your uncles. That's not being able to really truly trust that your parents had your best interest in mind, and then just that less than mentality because things were ripped away from you is
but I didn't
what you were given, and no skilled trades. Yeah. and no coaching on like what to do in the world. No real core values as far as how to go out and be a man.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So trial by fire coming at you real fast.
Trial by fire, for real.
Yeah.
Because after, like I said, quit school, got to run around in the streets, whatever. And at 19, I was at 18, I started dealing with a woman. She's, 34.
Mm-hmm.
Got with her, I'm 18, so moved in with her right away. So that was another layer of taking away my formative years. So a little bit after that, me and her used to go down to this other little town in Wisconsin and to a friend's house, and had like a little weekend getaway, do some gambling, dice and stuff like that. And, he sold, marijuana or whatever. But one day her oldest son was, 2-3 years younger than me, and in a neighborhood, around one of the neighborhoods, and he found somebody had dropped a bag of cocaine. Right? Yeah. So he came in like, man, I found this. I said, man, let me get that out. I'll get it out for you, this, that, and other. So I had every intention to go back and roll.
Was it a lot?
Nah, it was some bags. So I don't know. Exactly.
A stash. It was a stash.
It was a little stash. Something, probably $200 sack or something. I don't know. But wasn't a lot. But anyway, so I knew his uncle and auntie smoked. So I'm like, hey, I got some. I ended up smoking.
Oh, no.
Smoking that. Well, they like, man, because they was like, man, you ever tried it? I said, man, I did that once. I didn't get hooked. Man, come on, man. So okay, go ahead. So they wouldn't have to buy it. So I did that little bit, right? And again, didn't get hooked, right? So didn't get hooked in. So in my mind, it was like, that was mine over. I don't see how nobody get hooked to this. This is mine over.
Right.
You start whenever you want, but not knowing I was being.
Oh, those hooks were
set up.
Yes, those hooks were being.
So, okay. So in the process after that, I ended up hearing about, like I told you, my son's mother. We liked each other when I was down there in school. It was a situation where we acted like we fought like cats and dogs, like we didn't like each other in school, but everybody around you could see that y'all like each other.
Yeah.
Right?
There was chemistry.
It was chemistry, but I was doing my thing, she was doing it, whatever. But it just so happened one day, now in the process, now a lot happened. My stepfather, he came to Milwaukee, him and trying to butt up on my, but he ended up taking, he made sure I was gone from the house. And when I left, I was over on the other side of town at her house. I got a call from the downstairs neighbor. Hey, get over here. Your daddy just took the kids and left your mama laying in the street.
Oh, boy.
So I get over, he did that. So that stuff was so toxic. Then my mother ended up going down there with them in Southern Illinois. So they down there, it was crazy.
It's a lot of trauma, it sounds like.
Trauma. So
yeah.
Now in the process, like I said, after the incident of me smoking that cocaine the second time, I get a call from because they going back down there around that same area where my son's mother. So he called me, hey, I want to know, Rolanda pregnant. I'm like, who? Talking about her. I'm like, pregnant. So I'm like, okay, cool. What you telling me for? I don't know. But after I got off the phone, for some reason I got mad. I'm like, what I'm getting mad? We ain't never did. We ain't never. But I got mad. So I said, you know what? So let me go down. So I went down there. I told. I don't know what I told the girl I was with. I'm like, I got to go to see my family, whatever. So I went seen her. Me and her, my son were talking. She tell me the story, what's going on, this, that, and other. So I'm like, whatever. I ended up not even coming back to Milwaukee for a while. Man, we ended up some months. We ended up this puppy love thing. And
sure.
She had the baby, and I was there for a minute, but then I got into a little trouble down there. I'm trying to defend her brother or whatever, and that destroyed somebody's car or whatever. Got put on probation. I left. Came back to Milwaukee. Tried, now this is what we, talking about. I want to be my own man. Now I'm trying to be a responsible man, and now I'm trying to get married, and and she's pregnant, with my
sure.
So, but I know nothing about nothing. So, ended up moving her up to Milwaukee and this, that, and other. And so one day, now I'm like, what? I'm 20. This 20. So one day at the house, my friend come over, and he stayed around the corner. Now, this friend, me and him, like the older woman I was messing with, he went with her sister, right? And never knew, me and him just smoke weed and drink and stuff like that, or whatever. But his family stayed around the corner from where I'm staying now. Then, and he said his father passed. His father was a mail carrier, and his father passed. I'm like, oh man. So he was like, man, can I borrow $10, man? I need to get me something to, shake this off, right? So I'm like, man, come on, man. I said, I'm gonna go, walk with you. He was like, man. He said, I said, man, I do a bag with you now. I didn't really like, because at the time Milwaukee sold just powder. At that early '90s, Radio Rock hadn't made it.
Okay.
If you want to rock, if you want to smoke it, you got to do it yourself, cook it up yourself. But we walked, and he was like, man, I don't know about you. He said, but I'm gonna rock mine up. I'm gonna smoke mine. So I didn't think nothing of it. From the first, one, I never knew him to do nothing. But in my mind, when he said that, I'm like, it don't matter how we do it, because I ain't gonna get hooked no way.
Right. Because you had no experience of doing it and then wanting any more of it.
No, right. Because I had the first 2 times, it was like I didn't get
one and
hooked
done.
in.
Yeah.
But this was the time. the hooks stayed in, and I
Yeah.
got
Something about bait on a hook, man. Like you can nibble on it and nibble on it, and eventually that sucker is going to set.
And that's the thing about addiction, man. People think everybody's experience is different, how it grabs you,
Yeah.
because everybody has a different makeup. So there's people that instantly get hooked, but there's some people that it takes a process for them to.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody says, how can somebody just do that? You never know what a person's process was. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It ain't that nobody ever said that, hey, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be an addict today. You know, they may have, people trying to relieve stress. They're trying to party. They're trying to celebrate. It's something. It's just not, you pick it up and say,
today's the day that I'm going to become
So that's
a fiend.
Yeah, that's not the way it goes. So.
Yeah.
But that was the time where, it got me. Trying to be a husband and with a young baby and one on the way, and now these hooks are setting in. And so now that I got that taste, and that I'm fiending, so now I'm doing things to where I'm telling her, I'm out all night gambling and stuff like that, right? But I'm out here, smoking and dope dating and all kind of stuff, and thinking that, she's green. So, but she's paying attention. I'm missing prenatal appointments.
Yep.
And she doesn't know anything about Milwaukee. Had to ride the bus, try to ride the bus there by herself. You know what I mean? The two upstairs guys that they trying to sell, they trying to come at her. And, I'm leaving her vulnerable. She's in this house scared.
She's on her own.
She's on her own.
Does she know what you're up to?
No.
Or are you sneaking?
I'm sneaking, but over a little time, she started finding little things. Like, I'm thinking I'm being slick, so I'm coming home, passed out one time. She said she found a pipe in my jacket pocket. And she called her cousin to see what was that about. So they started telling us stuff before. And then one time she didn't ever tell her. I came home, and this is kind of gross, but
all right.
I had sex with a woman that must have either came on or came off the cycle, so they were stuck in underwear. She had to take that off, and she found that. So, but then, so when I told her, I came clean, I'm like, you know what, this is what I'm doing. She said, I know I did. It's fine. This, that, another. So she ended up just, her mom and them came and got her one night, and she's out of there. And then I just went into full fledged, let my house become a dope spot.
Trap house.
Trap house. I mean, trap house of trap houses. So,
oh boy,
I'm like, man, all kind of stuff was going on. So, one day, this is like, what was it? March. So my son was born in February, so this had to be the next month, March '92. I'll never forget it. Coming down off, I just had a 3-day binge or something. And I was just super hot. I said, man, I got to get out of it. I'm coming down, and had got a call from, you need to get yourself together. And, you got the baby, this, that. So I'm like, man, I got to get myself together. I got to, do what I got to do. So I just left my house and started walking. So I wanted to come down, all the way down. But, as you come down, things start coming back to. Oh,
yeah. Emotions start coming out.
So I'm walking. I don't know how I ended up, like, if you know Milwaukee, 24th and Concordia to get to 22nd, 23rd, and North Avenue. You done did some serious walking. And I ended up, they had just built this new Popeyes on
I love Popeyes,
22nd
man.
and North, right? So I go in there. I'm like, man, I got to get me a job. So I go up in there, ask the people for application, right? And um, the young lady, she gave me an application. So I go and fill it out. So I turn it over, got to the section where they say, for your references.
Yep.
The thought popped in my head, like, we need to get high. I'm like, yeah, so I wrote a robbery note. I take it up to the front and show the lady. She reading reading my information. I said,
The application?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She reading. I said, no, not that side, the other side. So she looked at the note, right?
No.
Look, she looked at the note. She looked at me. She looked down at the note. I said, so she's like, oh, she said, man, we getting robbed. So she gave me a little money, right? I'm out the door. Now, as I'm running, I hear, hey, you forgot the application.
No.
Right?
What'd you do?
But I wasn't coming back to get it.
No.
Man, look. The next day, I'm still at a dope spot, right? Not too far from there. And I go to the door of the guy's house where he's like, man, come here, man. So we go to the living room. They watching TV, and it's a 6 o'clock news on, and they do a segment called Crime Line Anonymous. Never forget it. My mugshot is up there. They said, this is the case of the dumb bandit.
The dumb bandit.
This guy goes and like he wants a job and puts all his information on his application and robs the place. And went on a run from that, for a minute to Indiana. Went from the frying pan to the fire because my cousin was doing their thing there and putting myself in a dangerous situation there. But then my uncle set me up and turned me in,
For the robbery.
For the reward money. And, I found out, my cousins told me the next day when I called them that they even went as far as when they got the money, I got arrested that evening. By midnight, that night they had the little reward money. Called my cousin over there for some stuff and putting rocks on the pipe, dedicating them to me. And after that set me on, this prison time, get out, going back and forth to prison, doing, getting reoffending, you know what I mean? Just doing stupid stuff, I got some crimes that.
Yeah, did you ever get sick? Like, did you ever get really, physically sick from all of it?
I got sick in the head because,
I was going to say, was there any type of just mental health issues that you went through?
No, I didn't get treated for nothing, no. I just did my own thing. I got out 19 months later from that. Reoffended right away, couldn't make it. Then got another 2 years. Reoffended right away. Then got 3 years. Reoffended right away. Got out in 2000. Stayed out 10 months, and tried. Now this one is when the change happened. 2001. Like I said, 10 months, because when I got out in 2000 from my third period of incarceration, the laws was changing in Wisconsin, right? And they got what you call truth in sentencing, where the way, it's like, instead of the old parole system, they do it to where they give you your time and they give you part in and part out, right? But the part out is kind of like an extension of your prison cell, because they give the POs more power when they come do a home visit, or if you come to visit. A police officer can be there right away, or if the police officer is not there, they can have another agent, and they both can carry. You know what I mean? So
Weapons.
yeah,
Yeah.
and arrest you, and so so it was the way it was presented, and so I was like, man. So I knew at the time it was getting out. I was like, and then I was like, man, I know I can't get out and go back to the streets, because I'm either in the bed or in prison for the rest of my life.
Right.
I thought that. So, so when I got out, it was another setup. When I got out, um, my PO was supposed to have a halfway house or something for me to go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get out, had a little money. So I go report. My PO not even in the building. He's on vacation. Didn't tell nobody, about me getting out. Didn't inform a cover agent or nothing. So I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to come back tomorrow. What am I supposed to do for the night? So you know what I did? In my mind, I'm like, man, I'm frustrated. I go right back to
Got those hooks.
I went right back, use that little money up, and I sat in the park all night, and I told myself over and over, can't get back out here. I'm either up dead or in jail for the rest of my life. And I said that, I'm like, can't do it. The next day, they said something, they would find something, so I had to go to the rescue mission, the shelter. Long story short, when the shelter met this guy and his wife. She was in the women's. They supposed to been, come up here from Chicago, and they supposed to be believers, and we can help you in this and that. So I'm riding with them. Come to find out they ain't nothing but scammers. End up meeting. They ran into his cousin, and we went over there. And right away, I got with her, moved in with her, and man. But 10 months, I said I want to do. She was she was on methadone coming off heroin, but she was boosted or whatever. But I'm trying to do this, just staying out, this relationship thing, whatever.
Yeah.
So we moving and grooving. So now, being with her, I hadn't seen my son. I didn't. 2000, when my son was 9, the first time I met him.
Oh boy.
Right. So I went and got him, and my baby sister. That summer of 01, and so me and her got to, this just started, me and her just got to getting, I wasn't using or nothing, trying to do it on my own willpower. No, recovery group, none of that. I just doing it. So things were going good for a while. But then me and her started fighting, over, she said I like my kids better than hers and all this type of stuff.
That step parenting stuff. Yeah.
So she started getting on my nerves, and I'm like, man, I can't deal with this, Then, because before, she said she would never, even though she did what she did, she's like, I'll never be with a crackhead, this, that, another. I'm like, I ain't on that no more. This, that, that. So she was cool. But now, I had to take my son back, take her daughter back to Chicago. I told her, when I come back, when we come back, it's done. I'm done. So in her mind, she was like, she was plotting on the way back. So as soon as we coming back from Southern Illinois, and then Chicago, and then coming back, as soon as we got into Milwaukee City limit, she was like, you want to go get some, dope? I'm like, what? Because I had to start tipping a little bit. I said, what? She said, you want to go get some? I'm like, what you said? But in my mind, let's go, because I'm stressed anyway. So for a couple weeks, we, and then she started smoking Primos. I'm like, what? It got wild. So one day in September, I had a job. I was working at a meatpacking plant, and supposed to, like, some Saturdays we work some Saturdays. So we had got paid, but this before we went down to take my kids back, I had, like, a week before that Saturday, I was supposed to went to work, and for some reason I hadn't used at the time for some months, well, since being out, and for some reason I got the urge. I got off the bus. I never made it to work. Got fired. Right? Told her about it. Whatever. We took the kids back. That's when. So anyway, September. Quit the job. I mean, I quit a job. No, I got fired from that job. But then I found another one. I was supposed to start another one. Right? So, but I had to go pick up my last check. Right? So I asked her to use the car. I got it. Used it. Used. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, dang, man, here I am again. So I'm walking again.
That relapse is part of the process, man.
And here we go. I got another. Okay, I got a thought. I'm like, man, I want to get, this in the morning. I'm going to get high some more. So I thought of another minor split. Now, I had on my second time before I went up, or was it third? No, it was the third. There was a Burger King on 15th and North. That was a hood, and it always got robbed, right? So I was in a halfway house after getting out from the second time. It was winter time, and I got paid, and I didn't make it back to the halfway house, and wouldn't use one night, right? Money got low, didn't want to, it was cold outside, didn't want to get kicked out the spot. So I went to that Burger King and robbed it, right? Took the application back this time, right? And ended up, man, that night, man, ended up still using that money up. So, when you at a spot, you run out of money. They like, okay, what you about to do?
Right.
Hey, stay in here.
Yeah.
So it was cold that night, man. It was so cold that night. And I'm trying to find somewhere warm to go. Couldn't find no warm, couldn't get in. Tried to find a doorway in it, man. I was freezing.
Anything.
Right? So it was wee hours in the morning. So I had walked around, and I seen, like, right up the street from the restaurant, in the parking lot of the store, I seen two police cars like this. They talking to each other, right? Man, I walked up to them. What's going on? I said, hey, sorry to bother y'all, but y'all see that Burger King right there? I'm like, yeah. I said, I robbed it last night, right? What? They said, what?
Cuff me. So I'm trying to get warm.
So look, one put me in the back seat, the other one down there, came back and said, yep, you robbed it. I'm like, man. So that was the third time. So that Burger King in 2001, when I used that then I got the thought, let me go back over here, because it was a couple years later, because I did 3, yeah. So now I go to the restaurant. It was right before they opened. I didn't know they wasn't open, and I didn't know that this was the last day that this was going to ever be open, right? So these people, they losing their job. So I go over there just trying to see what's going on. So I knock on the door. So this young dude, he opened the door like, what you want? I said, man, I want an application. We ain't got no application. I said, okay, man, okay, that's cool. So he closed the door. I walk away. So as I walk away, here come another thought. Dude try to treat you like a punk. He talk to you like a punk. I said, what? I'm like, yeah. I said, I'm finna go handle this. So I look. I seen a metal pipe on the ground. Put it in my pants, right? So by this time, it's like after 10:30. So they open. Dude and another girl standing there, manager another out here. So I go to dude. I'm like, and he had the counter. So I'm like, yeah, I do like this, like my hand to my. I'm like, yeah, this is robbery. Don't make it nothing else. He looked at me like, and so I flinch at him. He don't move. He like, what you gonna do? So I'm like, man.
He's already had everything taken away from him at this
I'm not
point.
knowing.
He didn't know.
He don't care, and he's young. So I turn my head because I'm like, man, what do I do now? So at the corner of my eye, he's swinging at me. So I duck back, try to grab the pipe and try to hit him. He to go back in the back, right? So I'm trying to get the cash register open from over the counter. A girl yelling, and so I'm like, man, let me get up out of here. So I'm about to turn and run. Dude coming back jumping over the counter with a knife. So I knocked the knife out of his hand. So we boxing. So I'm like, man, I got to get up out of here, right? So I try to break and run. I slip and fell. What I do that for?
Oh no!
So the other two guys, young guys, back there cooking. Him, man, man, they beating the brakes off.
They did.
They beating. I can't kick it. I'm like, whoa, come on, I'm hollering. I'm like, man, they beating the dog brakes off me. So the first one got up under me and grabbed me by like this and squeezing me. And so I'm like, man. So I couldn't breathe. I'm starting not to breathe. So I'm trying to tell them I can't breathe. They're kicking me. So in my mind, I'm like, man, this is how I'm finna go out. I pass out, right? Black out. Next thing you know, I'm catching air. I'm coughing. Police done got there. Never been so glad to see the police in my life.
I bet not.
Yeah. Man, get me away from here. So ended up, had to go to the hospital first for all the injuries. Then they took me to the county jail. So
how bad was it? How bad were the injuries?
I had a lot of bruise, like from the kicks and all that. I was bruised up, swole up, man. I was swole up, because I heard when I took my shirt and stuff off, and I heard one of the nurses tell the police that, yeah, I bet you won't try to rob me now. I want to jump on it. Oh man! So that was September 7th, 2001.
Just in a complete state of loss at this point.
Yep. But then, for about 4 days later, early in that morning, like 3:30, 4 in the morning, I'm in the cell. All these thoughts come to me. Like, now I'm facing truth and sentencing. Facing life plus 30. And my ex told me I could forget about my son. Old girl I was dealing with, she cut the phone off. And so now I'm like, man, thoughts coming to mind. Now I didn't know how the enemy works then. All these thoughts coming to mind. I'm thinking, this is mine. So I'm thinking like, man, why you want to live like this?
Right.
You're facing all this time. Everybody's going to be there for you. So thought of suicides are coming in. Just take yourself out. Just that another. So I got up off the bed. I'm pacing. But I'm in the cell by myself. And thoughts just like, man, just go ahead and take yourself out. Then that thought came, and these voices in my head just said, keys. And I just hollered out, I said, God, help me. And I laid down. So the voice got said, no, just the best thing to do, the best way to get out of this is just, when the doors click in the morning, take the sheet, wrap it around your neck, jump off the tier, your problems be over. You ain't got to worry about it. I'm like, yep, that's what I'm going to do. So I lay there and I started drifting off to sleep. But right before I drifted off to sleep, I heard this still small voice tell me, get a Bible, read about Paul. Right? Man, so so as I'm drifting off to sleep, man, I drifted off to sleep, and 7 o'clock, I hear the doors click loud, so I jump up. I almost knocked over Mr. Hickles. I didn't know Mr. Hickles at the time, but we ended up seeing each other again. he was the tier tender to clean the pot. So I almost knocked his cart over, rushing out the room, felt like I needed some air. And he was like, man, he was like, what's going on? I said, man, I'm going through something. He said, I can see it. I said, man, get me a Bible. Get me a Bible. He was like, man, we'll get you one later. He's like, calm down. He said, man, why don't you come to Bible study? So I said, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. So went to Bible study. Mother Sydney, who I later ran into again, she was showing a video the pastor was preaching. So all through the sermon, I said, man, that voice I heard. I said, some sound familiar. And he kept talking. So then he got to talking about Christ on the cross. When he was stuck in the side of the spear, and when the water and blood came out, only time water and blood come out at the body at the time is at a birth. It's new birth, signifying a new birth. I said, that voice. I said, that was Jesus. Man, I gave my life to him that day. You know what that day was? 9/11.
No.
September 11th.
Wow. 2001.
I got sympathy for everybody that was a tragedy for most people. Not for me. Not for me. Yep. And so that was at the 9. So that's when I was saved. But did that 7 years. Got out in 08, and then some other stuff.
Weird. Stuff just keeps happening, right?
Yeah, hold on a second. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
I got out. That 7 years was my seminary. God taught me a lot, brought me through a lot. That's where I got the urge to write my auto, because God used that as I didn't even know I was a writer. In prison, I would doodle little sayings and stuff on, and I would show one of my friends up in there. He was like, man, he was like, you got, seem like you got a gift for writing. One of the guys went to chat with. I'm like, cool. And at the time, they had a poetry contest or something in the prison. I said, you should enter it. So I wrote, Christmas poem. So I wrote one. I didn't win. Got honorable mention.
Yeah.
That set off something. And so Lord just told me, to write my auto. So I started writing it, but he used it as a way of, because once you get saved, he starts showing you where he was.
Oh yeah.
At the time he had to break me of me.
Yeah.
Because like I told you, that the time I got into that, I said I couldn't get out, because if I did, I couldn't go back to the streets, because I would either end up dead or in jail for the rest of my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what he did. So I gave my life to him on September 11th, right? But I still had to go to court and all that, right? So I started going to my public defender. My public defender I first met, he was like, before my preliminary hearing and all that, he was like, man, he said, I'll be honest, he said, I don't know what to tell you. He said, with your record and things that, he said, there's no defense about, I don't know what to say. He said, plus you go in front of this judge, he's going to give you all that, He said, what I can
Yeah,
do,
you're not gonna be one of the.
He just let me know I'm not working for you.
Right.
So he said, what I can do, he said, you can, he said, I'll actually, he said, write a letter to the judge. He said, write a letter. He gave me specific letters for somebody. He said, write a letter to the victim. He said, write a letter to the judge. He said, write a letter to that, your work history. He said, and what you feel your role as a father is, right? And so we send it to him. And then he said, I'm going to have one of my reporters write up, like, do a bio on you to send to the judge, you know. Then he said, I'm going to put in it for a venue, a change of judge, you know, because, you know, this one is going to max you out.
Right.
So I said, okay, cool. So usually, you know, because I've been there multiple times, usually you plead guilty. Um, um, boom, and you up right away. So okay, after that, he did that. We had a preliminary hearing. No, we had to make the plea. And so, like I said, I was facing life with all the answers that made me have life, and then the 30 years for the case. So we'll go to preliminary hearing. First thing that the commissioner was like, well, Mr. Mitchell, did anybody promise you anything for your plea? I'm like, no. He was like, okay, set the sentence date. And then he was like, so he boom, boom, I'm finna leave. So as I'm finna leave, now my lawyer didn't put in the motion for this and nothing like that. But the judge was like, oh, before I got to the door, he's like, for the record, we're gonna strike all the enhancers, like get rid of all the enhancers, right? So
What?
my lawyer looked at him and looked at me, I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm like, thank you, you know,
Yeah.
he's starting to work. So now I had to wait on sentencing. Now usually it's like boom, 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 but they kept postponing, this, that, another, you know. So I'm start getting, you know, this feeling, you know, try not to be fearful or doubtful, trying to trust God because I'm new. But then sentencing day came. I got a new judge. I'm gonna find out this judge he had just came up from the juvenile court or whatever. So get the sentence. So he was like, Mr. Mitchell, he was like, you know, there's something I don't understand here. He was like, first of all, who wrote these letters that you wrote to me? I said, I did, Your Honor. He was like, something I can't understand. He took his class. He said, from the way you present yourself in these letters and what I see in this file, he said, it's like I'm dealing with two different people.
Jekyll and Hyde.
He said, I'm not trying to talk about nobody here. He said, but most people that come through my court don't have a clue of what's going on. They barely spell their name, don't ever have a work history. This, then he said, I just don't see that with you. He started getting frustrated. He was like, I don't understand that. He said, it's just, he said, I just, you know, I don't. Then he was like, okay, you know, and we sit here and we like, what's going on here? So he was like, okay. He said, that's what he said. I'm going to do my job and protect the community. He said, but I'm not going to throw you away. He said, you still have something to offer this society. And right then and there, I know who was talking.
Jesus.
God, when the scripture says, I got the king's heart in my hand, and I turn it whichever way like a river, people better get with God.
Yeah.
They get with him.
Amen.
Not for what he can do, but because of what he can do.
Right.
You know, and he told me, he gave me my time, gave me 18 years, 6 in, 12 out. And at the time, usually your in time is more than your out time.
Right. So 6 in, 12 out was
18.
Yeah.
So I had to do the 6, but I had to do a year off the old law first, then the 6 kicked in. Made me do 7 years. Completion. You know? So did that and man, went up, you know, did my time, you know, learned some things. 2008, got out. While I was in, you couldn't tell me being a believer was harder outside than inside.
Yeah.
Until I got out. And I saw why they say, man, so much, because you ain't been out here. I ain't been out here, you know. Ended up getting in ministry right. I had a safe place to get out to, you know. But I got married right away too soon, you know, and trying to do that without dealing with, I won't get into specifics and all that, but that was a bad move. Right?
Oh, you messed up.
Bad move for the simple reason I should have took time to get to know me.
Yeah.
Not the person, she was the right person, most likely, but it was the wrong time because she
Yeah.
had some stuff going on.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I had some. I didn't know. And we just didn't mesh, right? So 4 years in, I ended up. I take the brunt of it because I didn't fight as hard as I could have, because I was feeling too much guilt and shame, and I was deflecting that off of her.
Yeah.
Making her the problem when my decision started all this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I know.
So,
yeah, that's a
separated, leading to divorce. That was in 2012, and now usually, before now that I'm out the house, I don't have a responsibility. I work there. I work for the Salvation Army there, and I didn't go to work until noon. Usually, before noon, I'm getting kids and to school. I'm doing errands, but now I don't have that responsibility. So now I got all this free time. So from 2008 to 2012, didn't really have no time to see what was going on out in the streets and stuff. I didn't have no interest because I'm in ministry. I'm doing things from that perspective.
Yeah.
But now that I got this out of time, and I'm now these old feelings of loss and guilt, shame, because of now I'm starting to, and I'm at a men's shelter. Now I'm starting to explore.
Process it all.
Now I'm starting to explore. Now I'm getting lonely.
Mm.
Now I'm trying to.
That's when it can get you.
That's when now I'm roaming, seeing these women out. So now my thing is I'm trying to be a good guy too. I don't want them to think I'm that guy. So I want to help. Like, I don't want to get a woman to pay her to sleep with her. I want to show her that I'm different and pay her, hey, I'll give you some money. You want to clean out my car, or let me give you, but I'm really in my month, So it came to, I got out the shelter, got an apartment, and I'm going getting this female to sleep with her, right? I'm not trying to do no drugs. I wasn't thinking about no drugs, but it's always a setup. So right before we finna do what we do, she's like, "Hey, see, let me get myself right for you, this, that, and other, right?" And right in front of me, she pull it out, pull out the thing, and she was new to getting high. So I'm seeing the way she do it, and I'm like, "What did you do? I'm gonna show you how to do it, right?" Boom, relapse after 11 years.
Wow.
So for the next few years, I'm on this up and down thing. Church family, people, I'm keeping it real. But they, my salvation was questioned, all kind of stuff, and I'm just up and down, and, up until about 2018, um, started getting it together, and COVID set in.
Yeah. How did you? Oh, that was my jump off point when COVID set in. Like, I've always had like a pretty serious relationship with alcohol, but when COVID set in and everybody was alone, I feel like that's when the hard stuff started to happen to me.
But when COVID set in, I was in treatment. Now, 2021. Now, I was coming up on two things. My 50th birthday, 2021, and being released from parole from that 12 years.
Yeah,
plus,
it's over.
Not just the 12, but because I had never got off parole the previous time, really getting out of the state, out of my hair since 92. You know what I mean? And then found out, I was, my birthday on 27th, I was getting off on the 24th or something like that. So it was like, I was, in my mind, I was planning this big celebration. Then I found out I was getting off a week later. Plus, they were sending that stimulus money. Man,
Oh no.
I got that one stimulus check, man, close to it. Almost, man. Almost. Yeah. I had to get out of there. Then some things happening with my cousin and them. I was supposed to got out of way before that. Because me and my pastor, we know each other from that. He's my, best friend. He was trying to get me to leave. And I'm I'm like, nah, I'm, reluctant, So got into that, man. But then I made the decision after that. I'm like, man, I got to get out of here because I ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
Especially after, no.
Where were you at this time?
In Milwaukee still.
Yeah.
So made contact with him to get up out of there. Then I was like, then another, I said, okay, I'm coming. But then another thing happened. My stepfather, my brothers and sisters and them called me. They now in St. Louis now. My stepfather was diagnosed with terminal. He was terminal.
Cancer?
Yeah. Few, little time to live. My sister, she's into all that natural stuff. She was keeping me here because of the natural remedies. But April, May, I went down, to, help with that. Then I was supposed to come here to relocate, but I just supposed to make a pit stop there. But I started relocating there.
To where was this?
St. Louis.
St. Louis, okay.
I had started the process, to get my ID switched over, all kind of stuff. But then the situation happened where me and my brother, he wasn't supposed to be there. Long story short, but he's into all that. He's, just snorts and he snorts anything.
Sure.
And I'm, drinking a little bit, and he got some resentments, some past stuff, and it got starting to get volatile to where.
Yeah, if you're drinking a little bit, it's when that stuff gets inside of you, any type of insecurities or feelings, it becomes adversarial very, very quickly.
Yeah, and not just that, but he's having these delusional things because he's snorting pills and
whatever,
and so he already has some resentments because he felt like coming up, me and my brother next to me, we deserted them, the younger ones, to be mistreated. Yeah. He's never dealt with that, so now we together, we ain't seen each other in years. He's dealing with that. Now he's dealing with, because I'm cool with, my sister-in-law's, he's thinking it was all crazy. So it got to the point to where something was about to happen, to where either I was going to hurt him, he was going to hurt me bad. And God just spoke to me while I was outside. Leave now. Leave. I left everything. Just to walk. I didn't know nothing about St. Louis too much. I only was there for like a month or so. Never went too much anywhere. I just got to walk and asking people on the way. And, come to find out next morning, yeah, he was telling his wife he was amping himself up. But anyway, so I called bro, and he was like, yeah, you ready now? It's time. So got here.
Yeah. Did you, so I have to ask, did you ever reconnect with your son?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him at 9, got back into my mess, didn't see him again until he was graduating high school.
Yeah. And you had been cleaning it up for a little while.
Cleaning up. And so he got married time had a son, and we were connecting, and yeah, and he got it, you know, in some legal stuff, so he did a little time. Just got out. So
Yeah. So have you guys
physically,
do you guys sync up? I mean, do you talk?
Yeah, we talk.
Yeah.
I just was talking to him. So since he's out in Kansas City, so I got to get to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he can come here. Or he can come here.
Or he come here. I'm going to get a feel. You know, you got to get a feel for
yeah,
where he's at. But yeah.
When you talk to him, what do you guys talk about?
Some everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, one thing I do, you know, I thank God for is through all my not being there,
Mm-hmm.
through all the, you know, that whole dynamic, to this day, he still tells me, I love you, Dad.
Wow.
He respects me, you know. And that's because, you know, his mother, she had, you know, every right to dog me, you know. I didn't go through child support, none of that. She didn't bash me to him. She kept it real with him about what I was dealing with, but she always told him who I was. She said, she said your dad was sick.
So working on himself. Yeah.
She said outside of his sickness, he's a good dude. You know what I mean? And I always appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. Dang.
Yeah.
How'd you get involved with Momentum?
When I got here, you know, Pastor Marshawn, you know, he introduced me to them because he knows I'm an outreach guy. He knows that I want to give back to people who've been in situations that I've been in.
Yeah.
You know,
similar to what you're doing right now.
Yeah. And so he connected me with them, and they I met them. They invited me over there to speak at a class. You know, at first, you know, because he was telling them about me. They thought I was a candidate to be in the Momentum class. I'm like, nah, I'm beyond that. You know,
Yeah.
So we talked and stuff. So they were like, maybe you can facilitate, and been that's how I got
just part of it ever since. So I have a couple of questions for you that I ask most of my guests, because we all deal with podcast is rooted in addiction. What would you go back and tell yourself since you, like, at this point in your life, you're where you are? What would you go back and say to yourself on day one of sobriety? This time, like at this point, when you started this journey, what would you go back and tell yourself? Because it's a long ways, right? Like when in that moment when you're like, I gotta get rid of this. I gotta get rid of this. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
That's like giving up like the most toxic best friend you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
Right? Like I would equate addiction to the most toxic best friend that you've ever had. Like it's hard to get rid of it. But so what would you tell yourself on day one of getting rid of that best friend today?
I would say, because I had to come to the place of where I had to admit that I liked getting high.
Mm-hmm.
For many years, I wouldn't say that. It's just a struggle. It's just that. But no, why do you go back? Well, I don't know why you like getting high. So I would tell that best friend, I'm like, look, we can't hang no more.
Right.
I can't have you in my life no more. Not because I don't like you. I love you.
Yeah.
I really love you.
Almost more than I love myself.
But I can't love you at the expense of loving me.
Right.
So we got to part ways. You got other friends. You're not going to be lonely. But if I keep dealing with you, I'm going to have nobody.
Right.
I don't even have you because you love too many other people.
Yeah.
You're not secluded. You're not exclusive. You're inclusive. I can't lose myself to you.
Yep. What would you say keeps you connected to sobriety?
That, knowing there's no more chances, because the last time I did it, God let me live through a heart attack.
Yeah.
Literally.
You're on your last
And let
lifeline.
me know,
Yeah.
you can choose what you want to do. But this is the high is one thing that can happen, but this can also happen.
Yeah.
And so that, and just knowing that there's people out here that needs. Some people can't make it through what you and I went through. Some people don't. You know many people that didn't make it out, whether it's the institution or whether it's the graveyard. Somebody needs to be a lifeline, or and that's what I want to be. So I want to help someone. That's why I wrote my book, Discovering, Defining, and Defeating the Fiend. One time in a program, I'm sitting there, I don't know how many times I've been in the program, but for some reason that just didn't, that angle, not saying it doesn't work for some people, I'm not saying that, but for me, I'm more of an experiential learner.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of my life, I never learned things. You couldn't just tell me this is hot.
You'd have to feel
I
how.
experience it.
Yeah.
And I have to learn the hard way. That's just me. And so I was sitting there and like, man, this is this textbook approach. It doesn't, I said, we need something. So God started dealing with me, reminding me of when I was in prison the last time. I was in horticulture. I worked in the horticulture. I worked in a greenhouse, they had a functioning greenhouse. And God taught me a lot, through those plants and that process. But, I thought about how we treated certain plants. Like some plants, you couldn't do a surface treatment. You couldn't look at it and treat it from the surface and it'd get well. Sometimes you had to dig into it was a root problem. You had to dig it up, you had to look at the roots and treat the roots, for that plant to get well. And so I started thinking about this addiction. I said a lot of us, we didn't get um, a lot of us, drugs and alcohol and the substance is not the issue. The issue, the drugs is just the mask or the escape route that we use to deal with the
Sedated.
root issues.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the issues that you're dealing with, like me, started way back. But and some people can't, they didn't block that stuff off because it's so traumatic. God helped me through mine. It hurt to deal with some of that stuff, but you got to deal with the root causes of stuff and get that out. Then you'll be able to deal with the stuffer stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's what so I'm using my story as kind of like a spade for people to, if I put myself
dig that out
there,
yeah. Yep.
if I put my issues in and show that I can face my traumas, past traumas, you can too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I know I can't go back to it.
Yeah. Ooh. I think you answered all my questions, man. I really do. I don't know what else. I guess, are there I guess the last one that I would ask is, are there any, so I always tell myself I can't stay clean on yesterday's shower, right?
Yeah.
Like that's something like I have to remind myself of. Do you have anything that you live by in terms of like a motivational quote or that keeps you inspired to keep going every day?
Not so much of a quote, but I know each one got to reach one.
Yeah.
We have to, and I believe the times that we in, man, is really getting serious. And so I don't wish addiction, prison on nobody, especially during these times. And so my motto is I have to be a voice. I have to help.
Yeah.
I have to help.
Well, just keep doing what you're doing, man.
Yes,
Just
sir.
keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining me, man.
Man, I
That was
appreciate it, man.
That was awesome.
Man.
For real.